Hey, what's going on? Today is January 10th, and you are listening and watching the Daily AI Show live. And today, Wednesday, we are talking about AI in the news. We've got Jyunmi, Beth, Andy, Robert. I'm Brian. We'll see if Karl jumps in. I'm not sure about Aaron, but we are talking about the news. And man, we had a little bit of a slowdown last week, as you would expect coming out of the new year. But with CES kicking off this week, and just the general news cycle of AI, you can tell that the engines are warming back up, right? We're starting to pick back up with some stuff. And so CES probably is taking over a lot of it, but we have an interesting, weird rumor that Aaron from our team brought to our attention about OpenAI to talk about. Let me let Karl in here real quick. Hey, Karl, we're just getting going. Welcome. So we have a whole bunch of stuff to talk about. So I think, I don't know what, I know, Jyunmi, we have one particular topic, but like, why don't we start with CES as a thing, but like, let's not do the whole show on that. So let's just talk about some of the stuff that's coming up on CES that is AI related. And Jyunmi, do you want to bring up the one that seems to be catching most people's attention right now?
Sure. So CES, if you're not familiar, but you probably are, is the Consumer Electronics Show. It's been going on for years and has always been a great convention for showing off the latest and greatest electronics for the year. And in the AI space, the number one thing that I've seen across the news is the new Rabbit R1. That is the new AI-powered personal assistant device that was announced. A lot of cool things that it can do, but we have I'd love to get Karl's opinion on this in a second, because we have been burned by flashy videos showing its capability. So maybe it's a little too good to be true, but I definitely want to hear more about that. But as a quick breakdown of the R1, the handheld device that allows their large action model AI-based AI to go ahead and take actions for you. So this is sort of along the concept of AI agents, and this is one of the early iterations that we're seeing right now. And it has a fantastic price point. It has that magical $200 price point for consumer electronics, which should see a lot of early adopters hop on just to at least try it for a little bit. Some of the big takeaways that I got from it is the way it's built. You can train it on some of the things that you tried to do or sites that you try to access. They demoed things like ordering a pizza or booking a flight and things like that. Big differences between what we've seen in apps and things like other assistants like Siri or Google Assistant is that it brings up the information for you, but gets a little clunky when it's trying to go through the process of actually doing it. Whereas this is supposed to go through all of those processes as if you were to have an assistant clicking on the buttons and looking up the sites and looking up the information and just asking you to confirm whatever your purchase is.
Yeah, and that's what the keynote guy, I guess the CEO founder, was really keen on. One is really what makes this device really interesting, and Karl can probably jump into it more. There are two things that really the takeaways. One is it's not based on a phone operating system. The baseline is the language model, which I really love that take on it. It comes at it from a different perspective. And I'm not technical enough to explain it, but the other aspect of this is the introduction to true agency, agents, whatever, as you iterated, Jyunmi. It's the ability to do several steps and then look for the user to confirm, and that's what everybody's been talking about or trying to make happen, and LangChain's been trying to do, and of course OpenAI has failed miserably on all the plugins and all this other stuff. Because even if you use Expedia, you still have to go to their website, which I think is on purpose because they didn't want to lose the traffic, right? So they kind of probably did it on purpose, even though OpenAI could have designed the tools and the plugins to do it all inside. I think in order to keep them on the same page or to get their buy-in, they made it so that you'd had to go back to their website. Anyway, but this particular tool is all of that in one. You book a appointment or do a airline or reservations. It all just goes confirm, and which I think is really interesting. But I have a hard time clicking order it right now. Like I almost bought it, but I'm like, but I mean I have to have 2 phones in my pocket now. And can't you just take that same technology and just throw it in my iPhone? Just do that real quick. Which Apple's going to do? Thoughts, Karl, or anybody else?
Well, the first thing I thought was like, so when I saw that, it wasn't that the rabbit necessarily that I was excited about. It's I don't know if you've seen. It wasn't. I don't think it was at CES. There was another one announcement on X. And they did it by, I think it was a news release, or I can't remember the name. I think it's Newton or Mutton, or I don't know what the name was, but like they're launching their own agents. And then I saw LG's AI smart home agent. So
or their dog, Dolly,
yeah, or whatever that is.
No,
but this year is where I was really excited about. Last year, Adept goes on the website, I want to buy a house, and then it'll do it for you. It'll be like, with the criteria you set. So this thing just takes that to the next level. Although the joke around is like, why would you want a Tamagotchi in your pocket as well? Because that's what it is. Like, it's a rabbit, right? So like it's kind of funny that way. So I watched his entire keynote or presentation, whatever that was, and I was like, just like everybody else, I was like, what will this replace? Well, I know what the intent it is to replace, but it's like in my daily workflow now, do I need to do this right now? And maybe that's a behavior change that they need to make happen,
right?
Because there's a lot of like, well, I could buy it, and there's some people who bought it, but will it be one of those, oh, this is cool for like 10 days, and then now I have like
10 seconds. If it's cool for 10 seconds. Go ahead, Beth, but then I definitely want to talk about this, and then we need to move on.
Okay, so I think you shouldn't buy something unless you have a use case for it. But as someone who periodically has projects that involve me doing a ton of typing, right? And that's stuff that like makes your wrist burn a little bit. The ability to like just hold up like a $200 thing, just hold up something. I don't have to program the macro. I don't have to do a bunch of like where it is on the screen, right? Pick where the mouse is out of like 8,000 parameters on the screen. I just need to be like, okay, learn this thing. Now we're just going to do it 50 times. And I'm going to confirm it, or I'm just going to allow it to be done like that as a third hand, right? Kind of thing, or a new set of automation tools is very interesting to me, because it's not just natural language programming. It's like sit on my shoulder programming, like watch what I'm doing. Got it? Let's try it. I'm happy to correct you a couple times if you can now do this for me. So like,
so I want to elaborate on that just quickly. And that is there are basically 2 modes. One of them is built in and is going to be available right away. And another one is experimental called teaching mode in R1. And that's what you're talking about, Beth, is you can actually use R1 to observe what you're doing. It'll learn what you're doing and then do it. And that's very different from, hey, find me a flight to London and a hotel to stay there. A natural language query that requires multiple steps on the part of the R1. That's very intriguing. And I'm buying one just to be able to experience that. For $200, I think I've got to try it.
Yep.
Okay. I will give you my quick answer on this. I think it's dumb as hell. Wait,
that's my job to be
the. I cannot believe people are buying it. I can't believe it. I mean, I just saw like somebody bought 4 of them or pre-ordered 4 of them, whatever. What I must be missing. I mean, it's not even a pushback. I cannot be the only one that thinks this is the stupidest, blockiest, non-sleek, non-useful. Will be in your phone in 4 months. What are you doing? device. I just, everything I read about it, everything I watched about it, everything that we just scrolled on the screen, I go, why? Why would I ever need to have this extra device? Now, if it's meant to go on a tripod and sit over somewhere, not in my pocket, if it's not supposed to be on my person, if that's not the intent of it, and I go and grab it for a specific thing, or it sits in my kitchen because it does certain things for me, and I'm like, I go grab the rabbit and I go do this thing. Sure, I get that, but it doesn't look like it fits easily in my pocket or anywhere for that matter. It looks like an old Game Boy that Nintendo would have produced back in the 1980s or 90s. It doesn't look cool or sleek. There's nothing about this that I think looks like anything that will exist in 6 months. I mean, if their tech is cool, like you're saying, Andy, maybe this is just like, oh, we're showing you this because like a lot of things at CES, here's our thing. But really what we're doing is selling the tech, and we hope to sell this tech into other devices, blah, blah, blah. Like
I kind of give them a lot of credit.
Something. Let me just quickly say, you're missing that this makes AI agency way more accessible than on your phone.
Yeah.
I don't think it does. I think it was, I think like Google, it was a well-crafted, because unless they had 100 of them and I missed it and everybody was playing with it at CES and everybody's like, oh my God. But the example he gives on the video is like, do this whole travel trip for me, right? And I want to do this and I want to do that. And he's like, and then I just go confirm. Like in real world, 85% of the things they gave back to you are things you're not going to want to do. And in which case you're going to go, shit, I need a screen. I need something that I can mess with. I need a mouse. I need to be able to go to the website, because that's not how that actually works in real life. People don't just go, I have a family of 4 and I'd like to go to Hawaii. And can you help me with getting the jet skis going on a device this big with a crappy thing? I don't understand.
Okay, hold on. I got to stop you. Because although I agree with a lot of where you're going, that's part. Here's the thing. Apple Newton, Google Glass, all these first entrants to this particular, this is making it accessible. The first hardware that is specifically designed for agency. That right there, of course, it's going to suck in the grand scheme of things 5 years from now, but it's the first, and they're paving the way, and they're breaking the ceiling. So I think there's although you're right about it not being the end source, like this is not where it's going to eventually land as a product, but it's the first to introduce it. And I think there's a lot of opportunity there. Yes, it could be fluff. You're right. It could be like, if I have 20 people, I'll look for YouTube videos of people that actually had one to see what their reviews were, and there weren't any, right? So it might be that he was all fluff and this is all programmed, but I also agree that if I need a trip to Hawaii, it's like, well, wait, I want Delta Airlines, and actually I want an aisle seat, and actually I want this. Then it's not going to do all that, right?
So
it was I will say this: I think it was a dumb demo of what you would use an agent for, because that's far fetched for that. And I don't want to make the whole show about that. We're already 13 minutes into the show, and we've only talked about literally one news thing. And Beth, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I'll just say this: like, I'm totally fine with being wrong. I hope, Andy, when you buy it, you're like, Brian, you're totally wrong on this. Look what this thing can do. And I am more than happy to be wrong on this. I'm not going to dig my heels in. From what I saw, and because nobody else can confirm even the bare essentials, he wouldn't even show the screen of the confirms. He only showed his finger from the other side going, confirm. And I was like, dude, that is not an agent. It's that.
But what you said too, Brian, in terms of what can this do that cannot be replaced. So if I saw this as Apple, I'd be like, yeah, either they're working on this in their operating system, which to me is the best play you could possibly make, Alexa 100%. Or whatever, to just because you have the devices, and it's hard to get these devices, like you were saying, like, it's hard for you to see stuff on it, right? It's like, it's pretty small to begin with. And yeah, it's kind of like the old iPods or the iPod Nanos, but like
he's hoping to get bought out by Apple.
No. The reason that you are all wrong is because your phone can only have one audio channel at a time. And this is a second interface audio channel for you. And that is not going to be solved by Apple or some like that's going to need more tech than what we're talking about. And for $200, I don't care if it's orange. I don't care if it's a walkie-talkie, right? Like I'm not there for the aesthetics. I am there for the function
and
and
remember
what I
that
think it will do.
$200 in this particular model is all you pay. Less than what it costs for ChatGPT Plus for a year. Less.
That's a fair point.
How do they do the language model
All right,
then?
move on.
Because okay, one more thing. So I do want to give him credit that he created its own large action model, they're calling it, right? But here's the thing. I like to test my models. You know, I want to know. I trust GPT-4, the output. I sometimes don't trust Llama, right, or a Bard, and so I'm buying a device that's tied to a language model that I haven't really tested. I'm not sure if it's accurate. I'm not sure if it's going to do what I want it to do. So that's where it's a little concerning. Okay, moving on.
GPT-3.
So much.
Like we don't know. Like, yeah. Sorry, I know, Jimmy. We got to move on to another topic here. All right,
No. Hey, I could talk about this for the entire show. I think there's a few more points that we really need to cover.
Well,
and that's number
fine.
one is the behavior change. And also that this product is probably not for us. It's made by Teenage Engineering, right? Which is a super hot design team right now. It's screen and all of those kinds of things. Brian, when you were talking about your position, all I was thinking was, this is what the BlackBerry users said when the iPhone came out. You know, it's that shift.
You're a BlackBerry user.
Speaking of iPhone, today is the anniversary. In 2007, on this day, the iPhone was first introduced.
That's amazing. That's the
Also,
thing that
just
I remember my buddy pulling it out of his pocket and showing it to me it was his parents' anniversary. And I remember that. Isn't that funny how you remember things? I remember him pulling out the first iPhone out of his pocket and be like, I have an iPhone. And like a bunch of us circling around him and being like, oh, like, so that's so funny you say that, Andy, because I have a very, very like ingrained memory of that. Sorry, go ahead, Beth.
Just a quick on-air correction. Robert misnamed the LG home robot as Bali. That is Samsung's home robot is Bali. And
I'm sorry.
LG's is Rosie because they almost have these names.
And there's an Ollie too. Somebody has an Ollie. I remember seeing that too.
Here's a
Dobby.
I'll say.
If you want to stay on the rabbit thing, I said this before we went on air to Jyunmi and Beth. Dumbest name ever. How are you going to call something a personal assistant and call it the rabbit? How are you going to do that and not have people make fun of you consistently for that? Anybody that watched Sex and the City 20 years ago is just going to start cracking up. It was the first thing I did. I'm 45. I'm a little immature. It was the first thing I thought of when I saw the name of it. I was like, dumbest name ever to go with the dumbest product ever.
The problem with the show is this is recorded for life. And it's on podcast. And we're going to look back on this, Andy. I'm with you. And we're gonna be like, let's record. What did Brian say? Let's just go back to that. What did he say?
Do it. I'm glad this is being recorded. Now, Jyunmi said maybe they're looking for a future integration. I said, there you go. Now we figured out what their play is. We know what their play is.
The rabbit is the company, rabbit.tech, and the device is the R1. It's
It's going to be.
Let's talk about news. What's happening in the news, everybody?
Yeah. Okay, here I've got some news from CES because that's the theme here. We've got magic mirrors. There are two announcements about magic mirrors. Okay, and the idea for the first one is from Neurologics. It's a 21-inch high mirror. It's intended to be used in health clinics and elsewhere, but you sit or stand and you look in the mirror for 30 seconds, and AI does a full analysis of your facial, the visible impacts of facial blood flow, and it can measure your blood pressure, your heart rate variability, all these things. And it gives you basically a quick and easy non-contact assessment, no blood pressure cuff squeezing the heck out of your arm. And this is the idea that AI will be able with the tools that AI has in the code underneath it to take an image and do something really impressive with it. Okay, great. Thanks for the imagery there. That's super that we have some stuff on that. The other one is from a company called Barracuda. which does expression analysis. Remember that your facial expressions are really complex. A huge part of the human brain is associated with identifying and analyzing the facial expressions of another human. Well, this is an AI that's doing that, and then it can give you advice on what your current emotional and mental state is, and provide in response through the magic mirror. It can provide some guidance, like a guided meditation, for example. That's very interesting. So magic mirrors are on the way.
Yeah, that's that kind of maybe there's a pivot there, because those are both really cool. I love that idea, especially the Neurologics one. I just love the idea of any of this stuff being baked into like nursing assistants, like the AI robots and the assistants and all this stuff. And now it's baked into a mirror down the road, and now this person gets up and they're in an aging facility, but they're still independent, but they need a little bit of help. And now this mirror and the AI goes like, "Ooh, that's something that we need to bring attention to," or whatever. And just the idea of all this AI being as an assistant to especially help our elderly population, but all populations, obviously, I think is super cool. And what that made me think of is, I don't know, would it be AI, the see-through TV? Would we call that AI? Probably not, right? That's just tech at that point. Did you guys see that from
for
Samsung?
The most part, I think more
TV?
of the smart TV back end is more AI. But yeah, the new transparent TVs and things like that, super cool. There's thousands of products to go over on that one. I wanted to quickly mention that Steam has officially gone into, has recognized AI gaming development. They officially released a stance on how they would include AI developed games onto their platform, which with those guidelines, that opens the door for a huge platform for people, lots of independent developers to put their AI games out there.
For sure.
That's a smaller story there, but
I have a lightning round if I could, real quick, guys. I'm gonna go through some articles that make it really quick for everybody who's listening. So the first one I want to mention is the AI Literacy Act is being presented in Congress. What that looks like, don't know. We'll post this in the show notes. So I think that's interesting that they're actually slowly but surely creating a bill about AI literacy. So that's important. I want to mention that NABLA raises another $24 million. NABLA has a language model for doctors. The way I have made notes of it, it says that Paris-based startup NABLA, specializing in AI technology for healthcare, Copilot assists doctors by taking notes and writing medical reports during consultations using speech-to-text technology and large language model for processing. The reason why I want to mention this is because I had Christmas dinner with some friends of mine who are doctors, and they're like, "Oh, AI is not going to do this, that, and the other to my job." It's like, it kind of is. You're in the crosshairs. So that's important. OpenAI came out in kind of rebuttal to New York Times. There's a lot around this. I'm sure y'all could have some opinions or thoughts on their post, but they're basically saying that they cherry picked some of the results of the plagiarism that they talked about. They talked about other things too. So I think it's important to read their blog post about OpenAI's response to New York Times trying to sue them. Not to mention other things, but anyway, Apple is made known throughout. I had actually a Mac Rumors article as well that I didn't get to share, but they are planning on integrating AI into their Siri come the Worldwide Developer Conference is the rumor. So that's something to think about. And lastly, China, NVIDIA is to launch a new China-focused AI chip. As you know, the U.S. has put a lot of sanctions on NVIDIA selling chips to China. Why this is a big deal? First off, they're actually downgraded chips. They're not as fast as the ones they're selling the rest of the country. But the fact that they're creating a chip specifically for China is kind of keeping them in the game. Well, they're quite frankly very well much in the game. So there's a few articles I thought I'd throw it for everybody to listen to.
A couple of quick ones in the automotive side of things. Both BMW and Volkswagen announced that they're getting some AI integrations. Volkswagen is putting in a AI assistant or chatbot, as they call it, in their new vehicles. And BMW is working with Amazon to do a connection with Alexa.
Yep. And also about Alexa, Amazon announced new chatbot features integrating with characters.ai so that you could do some customization there, some custom like 20 question game kind of thing where it can personalize the experience for you. I did try last night and she offered me very inappropriate, not AI things. Like, I don't know that. Would you like this? No, it's midnight. No, absolutely not. Whatever you've just said. And now she's sulking and won't turn on. So, there's that.
Who is this? Who is she?
That's Alexa.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, and now she's gonna no.
Yeah.
Don't come on now because that's the wrong time. Okay.
Have they
What
upgraded?
I would like to show is the thing that I am super excited about.
Oh yeah.
Teleportation?
We wish.
Hologram. This is a holodeck, and you can now see that the man is over there. That's the live. Yeah. I thought
That's
that was
wild.
amazing.
Yeah, Howie Mandel has been like they hired him as like for whatever reason he's been sort of a spokesperson for that company, and so I keep seeing things with him in it. I guess that's good marketing because I remember it. But I definitely see the value of this. Could you imagine like old school? When I was growing up, most of us growing up, you had the big old square, big ass TV, and it got rolled into the classroom. It had the tie down strap on the top because that was going to stop not killing a kid if it bumped in the middle of the hallway and some kid gets crushed. But now can you see one of these things being rolled into the hallway and it's like, whoever it is, I don't know, it's Charlie D'Amelio or somebody like that. I'm picking a TikToker that my daughter would know or something. She's like, "Hiya, kids," and she's got like sort of that hologram type thing. I mean, there's a lot of cool ways. Professors at college, further de-siloing colleges and your best professors at best industries. It's a really cool technology. It doesn't exactly look like you could grab the person, but it is pretty cool looking. And definitely enhances just seeing somebody on a screen for sure. It's a better experience.
The other thing that I have is Microsoft doing research with Microsoft and scientists from Pacific Northwest National Library are using AI to discover promising new battery technology. And the more that we can store in batteries, the more our energy options become wider.
For sure.
Yeah, the really big thing I love about that story is they shaved off years of testing time.
Yeah.
Because they had like 32 possible elements or materials, and they shaved it down to 18 in just a few weeks, as opposed to what would normally take years to do. Which is
and they discovered a new compound that effectively replaces lithium to a large degree in lithium batteries and improves the operation of the battery.
Right.
Yeah.
I got one small one, not a new company. They've been around, 2017. Time Kettle. I know we've seen a lot of using ChatGPT and other LLMs to do translation, but this is this new device. I think they call it their X1. It's a hub with a little screen that has earbuds connected to it, and it will translate in real time any conversation that you're having with people, in the same room or at the same table. And so you can read the translation on the screen and hear the translation going on, and it can support like 20 different languages, and you can interconnect these. So you can have an entire table full of people listening on the earbuds, and you're just speaking normally your native tongue, and everybody can speak it and hear their own native tongue. Which
that just eliminated a whole bunch of people working as translators at the UN. Like it's over. That job
Duolingo had just talked about they got rid of like I don't know how many jobs at Duolingo exactly for that reason, because translation was now AI was doing a better job of it. I think there's always going to be a place for learning that native languages. If your place is, my wife and I have always talked about going and maybe not retiring, but living in Portugal in the future years. And of course, learning Portuguese is important, but I do love that we're getting so close to the fact that even if I did know the native language, I would be just fine communicating conversely. And like you said, just getting around a dinner table and having really great conversations. Karl, I feel like you got cut off 2 or 3 times. I want to give you a quick chance if you have anything you want to do. And then if we could end really quick on a rumor that Aaron shared with us from OpenAI, I want to end on that. I have that up on my screens. But Karl, you go. Did you have any news stories?
Yeah, there was just 2. I don't remember if we talked about Perplexity's funding round last week, where they've got pretty big funders, and then what the CEO actually mentioned was really neat. Well, one is the Vision Pro is coming out next, I think like
February 2nd.
Pre-orders January 19th, February 2nd. And then what was really neat is Perplexity's founder actually showed Perplexity, you logging into Perplexity into Vision Pro. I thought that was really
Who's buying that? Anybody?
What's that?
No.
Is a different price point. Let's just say.
I mean, I would love it. I would hope somebody does on this crew, because then we can all learn from it. But no, it's outside of my price point. I think it's super cool though. I'm really interested to see what it does.
Oh, you can do payment.
Let me share this really quick. This is more. This is totally rumor. We cannot confirm this whatsoever, but I think it's interesting and it's worth bringing up really quick. Aaron shared this. Couldn't be on the show today, but he shared this with us, and this is one of these deals. I'm going to explain it because I know I'm sharing it on the screen, but for our listeners, basically one of these deals where OpenAI inside of ChatGPT popped up a screen for a bunch of people, and then it disappeared. So what does that mean? Well, we've seen this before, and sometimes it doesn't mean anything, and sometimes it actually is a good insight. So what is this? Well, it says, this is what the screen says. It says your GPT can now learn from your chats. So then it has a couple of sub-bullet sections. One is keep the conversation going. Your GPT will carry on what it learns between chats, allowing you to provide more relevant responses. It's going to improve over time. As you chat with your GPT, it'll become more helpful, remembering details and preferences. It's going to manage what you remember. It improves responses with your chats. It says your GPT will continuously improve as you chat, picking up on details and preferences to tailor its responses to you. So to modify what your GPT knows or teach it something new, just tell it stuff like, what do you want to know about me? Where did we leave off on my last project? Remember that I like concise responses. So completely rumor. I want to make sure that's it's not news in the sense of this is coming, but it's interesting because I do see it as a natural next step towards agents, which we heard OpenAI say and Sam say at Dev Day is what their focus is. Go ahead.
And we do know people for whom that screen was turned on, like in the AI exchange. So like that isn't a rumor, but then it was turned off, right? Like, so people are like, hey, you got this? Now it's gone. So that's a very OpenAI thing to do.
Yeah.
You saw it as well, Karl, for you?
It showed up for me and I pressed continue.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, that's very cool. But I never checked it. And then I saw the notes saying that like, oh, it just disappeared for everybody. So it's like, oh, okay. But it's there. We all just, whenever it's going to come out, it's going to come out.
Well, so that's interesting because it's not just one person. We feel fairly confident somebody just didn't, Photoshop this screen or create it or whatever. It actually existed somewhere, and then it was maybe accidentally turned on or turned off. Anyway, this seems like a very natural next step. It's very, Andy, this seems to be almost like a move towards Pi, which is, oh, I have a memory of you. I'm going to learn about you. Pi is really great about coming in 4 months later and saying, hey, Pi, what were we talking about last time? And Pi will be like, great, this is what we're talking about. It has that long-term memory. So I see this as a very natural next step for ChatGPT. It makes sense to me. I hope it's legit. I hope it's something that comes out. It seems to be very well placed with custom GPTs and the marketplace as well. So any other thoughts on that, or we want to leave it there?
That sounds good.
Yeah, I think that sounds good. I just want to say hi to Anne and Gwen for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
And yes, Gwen, you're right. Time Kettle, Star Trek. Yep, I agree. First step to Star Trek. You're right.
Yeah, and Anna jumped in, and thank you for jumping on. We were talking about the mirror, I think, at the time, and Anne was saying it could be better if it could be better understand folks on the autism spectrum too. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
so many different areas in health, and that I think it could be super helpful for. And then Gwen had said, great until you think about the use in law enforcement with significant others telling the truth. Not sure what that was referenced to.
Facial recognition.
Okay.
Facial expression analysis.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, valid point. Well, listen, that's the news for now. We'll see what the next week brings out. We will definitely report back when Andy has the R1 in his hand and he can tell us all the great things and tell me I'm wrong, which I look forward to.
April.
Oh, it's April. Okay. It'll be a while. Okay. All right. That's it. Tomorrow we are hoping to be talking about the OpenAI custom GPT what's not workplace? That's the word.
Store.
The store. Thank you. I kind of was like, what is the word for that? The store. But nothing's been announced yet. We'll see how the day goes. We may swap out a topic for tomorrow, but we'll talk about it tomorrow if we can. Friday, we're talking about Apple, which we sort of talked a little bit about, but noticeably absent from CES because Apple really, I don't know how much Apple uses CES for that. But is this the year of Apple? Is 2024 when we end the year? Is everybody going to be talking about how Apple just crushed everybody in AI? So we'll talk all about that on Friday. That's what we have coming up, guys. Thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks to all the comments as always. And we will see you guys tomorrow. With that, bye.
Aloha.